Hello, my name is Abdulrahman Alharbi from Al National Private School, and today I'll be talking about my app as a final project in term 2, in which I had to build something out of everything I learned throughout this term, using Swift Playground as my first programming language to write a full stack of code implementing variables, functions, and other skills such as debugging and decomposition and best practices. This includes writing codes to handle events such as such events, programming buttons, creating tools, adding text and photos, and more for designing the user interface of my app. So now I'm going to go through the code that I used to create this model, starting with the background image, which shows photosynthesis. I also added other images like the leaves and the clouds, and used coordinates to place them in their specific locations. I also modified their size at the same time. I also added some touch events, so for them to absorb the molecules and to show how. So now I'm going to show you my final product. As you can see, my model is related to science. I've illustrated the entire process for the synthesis. I've added many tools, each with its own purpose. For instance, if I click on sunlight, it will show me brief information of how light gets absorbed by a plant's chlorophyll, which is a pigment found in plant's leaves. If I click on CO2, water, and oxygen, I get information about inputs and outputs of the process. I also added a chemical equation of photosynthesis to see the reactants and products, one of which is glucose, which I haven't been able to add it into the model. Now, using the code photon, I'm able to show the photon molecules. And then I also added a water molecule along with carbon dioxide. And now I'm using another tool, which is absorb. I can show how the plants will absorb both carbon dioxide and sunlight, and another absorb tool specifically for water to show how the plant's roots will absorb water. I then used red for oxygen to represent oxygen being released by the plant into the atmosphere. Instead of just simply creating a dull PowerPoint with just information and photos, I can create interactive models to illustrate the information. Through coding, I can express my creativity by creating models such as this that can even help early learners understand the process of photosynthesis, how the process works. I also added some text like sunlight, carbon dioxide, water, oxygen, and the chemical equation. I gave them text colors, different font styles and sizes, which shows briefly how it works with text. I also added some event handlers to place those texts. At the same time, I also used event handlers to also be able to add the molecules, not just the text alone, and as well as to create tools, which enabled me to create this interactive model. Thank you very much for listening.